Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools board was hereby approved the following routine matters. Board of Education minutes from July 7th and 28th, 2020, and CSE recommendations are listed in the packet. Motion, please. Any discussion, corrections? All those in favor? Opposed?
Ow. Somebody covered the mic. Okay.
Okay. You all right? All right. Public comment here. I wanted to go through, I'm going to start this off. You've asked people to submit questions. I'm not reading these all the way through, but I do want to acknowledge some highlights of the questions that have come in. As you can imagine, it's not about budgets or buses or things like this. We're facing us in the open plan. So I want to acknowledge these, and we will get back to people who have sent these emails in. And I'm also still open for anybody here to public inputs tonight. We do have a presentation on our agenda here tonight. Superintendent will go ahead and do that. So some of these may be there. Take away these thunders away from some of this, but allow us to speak to last time. Some of the comments that come in, we're trying to update those. But I do want to acknowledge Amanda Spenny, who said new first, asking some questions about does everything need to be carried to and from school, and how that's been supplied with sort of change. If people are struggling more enforcement, and our children are expected to be online during the normal school hours. More of a comment of the daytime remote when children or students are in daycare for the other part of, maybe if they're part of the hybrid, where certain days they're in a daycare provider, and how all of those are going to happen. Daycare providers being able to monitor children's activities on computers when they've got maybe other younger kids that they need to do it. And it's a huge concern. We know that. Gloria, I'm sorry, I probably should acknowledge Janice Farino. Gloria Phillips also sent in handling lockdown drills with social distancing, fire drills, and how those are going to happen. Brown bag lunches. Are they going to be able to bring their own hand sanitizers? Some comments here about doing some of the things about it. And so, again, we will address those. And then another one from Melanie Russo. A lot of questions about what happens if somebody tests positive for COVID. How is the quarantines going to work? How are we going to find substitute teachers if classrooms are exposed, and all the things that go with that. I'll just make quick comments on a lot of these things here. A lot of these are going to be guidance from the health department. We've always taken our lead. If you guys remember, we basically had the very first case of a staff member in Madison County. And again, we will follow the guidance from the county health department on how we handle those things. So, again, we will get back to these. Again, some of these are comments, and then some of them are basically some questions that we will address either through our frequently asked questions or directly. Now I'll open up for anybody who's here, if anybody wants to speak publicly. We have 2 of these sessions, so if you want to wait, there'll be another opportunity. Anybody? Okay, we'll move on.
We know that there are, I want to start by acknowledging that there are still a lot of questions that people have. Every day we've been receiving questions. A lot of them, right, the vast majority have come in the form of email. And as Mr. Haddad just explained, we're going to continue to update those frequently asked questions on our website with the answers. I think in the last day or two, we've added probably at least another dozen questions and answers. We'll continue to do that as we lead up to the scheduled parent presentations. So, and we wanted to take a step back and just review some of the things that we talked about at our last board meeting, and then move forward with what are the things that are on the horizon in the next few days. This is what we had referred to as far as what is the base schedule that students are going to be participating in. We felt that it was important that every student K through 12 had the opportunity for in-person learning. We understood that that wasn't necessarily every district's philosophy, as you could see by a quick look at the types of plans that are out there. They're all over the place. You can look at a dozen districts and they could have 12 different types of plans. But that was at the cornerstone of the construction of our plan. So as you can see here, this just sort of gives you a visual that every student's for a base schedule is going to be placed in one of those cohorts, either a Monday, Thursday cohort group or a Tuesday, Friday. We also talked about the fact that Wednesdays, as many districts have done, will have a day that can be flexed and used for whatever is a priority. So for example, if a student is needing additional assistance, possibly additional in-person assistance, that would be a day or a third day for that student could be a possibility. Not to get too far into specifics, but there's also opportunities based on the particular needs of a student or a family. You may have a case where some students will be here 4 or even 5 days a week. So again, just to be clear, when we're talking about a 2-day in-person schedule, that Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, that is the base schedule. We had to start generally and build a foundational schedule. We're now in the process of determining, with the cooperation of families, what students need to be here in person on Wednesdays, and in some cases what students need to be here 4 or 5 days a week. So we appreciate everyone's patience, and we just want to reiterate that it's essential that we continue to talk specifically about your child when we have questions of that nature. So this is, again, the base schedule. And again, a lot of these we will talk about more extensively at those 3 sessions that are scheduled next week. We intentionally tried to create times, morning, afternoon, earlier in the evening, so that it would fit different people's schedules, and we can talk more in depth. This is going to be huge for us because we're in uncharted territory. We know that there are just a lot of questions out there. There are questions, just speaking honestly here, there are questions that we haven't even thought of, that nobody in the room, probably nobody in the district has thought of yet, that will end up probably on that list in the next month. We can admit that because we can look everybody and find solutions to those questions. So this is just a sampling that's on our website. The number of questions is going to keep growing and growing, so I would encourage people to continue to check that Q&A document out. Okay, if you've been following what's been happening in the last few days, you know that the governor came out with some new additional requirements that districts need to meet. A couple of weeks ago, every district in the state had to submit their reopening plan. And the governor since then has said we want more specific information on some of those specific areas. Specifically, what does remote learning look like? in school. We were a little more surprised in two of those areas when they wanted specific plans for districts regarding contact tracing and testing protocols in districts. So to clear up a couple of things, because I did have somebody ask me about this earlier. No, we were not on the list of districts. You see there was a published list of 107, I believe, districts who did not submit properly the reopening plan. We were not on that list, so that was good news. We got past that level of scrutiny. There was a second level of scrutiny, and that as these plans were being reviewed, we were supposed to be notified by yesterday, actually, through email and then through a follow-up phone call if there were other questions regarding our plan. And we received no further contact. So we're taking that as our plan was acceptable. Obviously, we'll update that as we get, the state sometimes is unpredictable and changes their mind about things, but so far we take that as good news, that we were not in that list of districts that did not submit properly and they did not have follow-up questions that they posed to us at this point. In the areas of, I just want to talk for a minute about contact tracing and testing. As Mr. Haddad mentioned, we were the first district who lived through this in a pretty public way. And I remember when, TV reporters were coming to me and asking for comments and were putting out press releases because we had the first known case of a staff member. And since then, that wasn't the only case. We had multiple cases early on, unrelated to each other. So we understand firsthand by living through the experience of what that looks like. A lot of the questions that we're getting are, what happens if a student in so-and-so's class is tested positive? Or what if teacher so-and-so was exposed to this? Or there's all those types of questions, and I get it. We understand that there's a lot of questions, a lot of anxiety. What I want to point out is there's a lot of things that have to be worked through in conjunction with the health department, and there's usually not one simple answer. Every scenario is going to present different challenges, and a lot of what they will work with us on is what was the duration of the exposure? How close was this person with other people? How long were they in the same room? A million different questions, and then they put together, it's like putting together the pieces of the puzzle. They put together and solve this puzzle, and they then determine who needs to be quarantined, who needs to be notified. They go through this whole process. They specifically will say to, and have said to me on multiple occasions, no, that is not what you're supposed to do, that's what we do. And that's what we're trying to do. Our role is to support their process, to help them connect the dots, to make sure that if we can put them in contact with people, or we can fill in some of the gaps as far as the information they have, and it's worked well. I can tell you from living through that several times over the last several months, it's worked very well. We have a good relationship with our local health department, and they've helped us out a lot on this. So we're not trying to pass the buck, but what we're saying is the honest answer is we are not the lead agency on those matters. We are a support agency working in conjunction with the health department. That's what our plan is going to indicate when we post our plan at the end of the week. It's going to speak to that effect, that we are working and have an open line of communication with our local health department. As far as testing, the same thing. That is a conversation of who needs to be tested, or who needs to be kept out of school or quarantined. That is a conversation with those professionals who deal with this at this point all day long. So we will continue to have those conversations with them. We are not a testing facility. We're not going to be testing people, nor should we be. And we got that message repeatedly from health experts. You're going to hear, I think, in the media that, for example, in some counties, they're making a concerted effort to make mobile testing labs available. Obviously, those are the kinds of things that we'll continue to have conversations with health agencies about what is or isn't feasible. At this point, are we having labs in the parking lots and people being tested every day? That's not the case. There's not a capacity locally with our local health agencies to do that. So there's a lot of questions that remain, and we'll see where that goes. And we'll, again, continue to share information about that in the specific community sessions next week. And then the final piece of the requirement was, well, by this Friday, those documents would be posted. The final piece is by August 21st, every district needed to have 3 parent or community sessions that where we could both talk about key elements of the plan and also answer questions that people had. So those are scheduled. That was advertised starting as of yesterday. Those will all be virtual sessions because we just don't have an idea of how many people will be in attendance. And we intentionally tried to select dates that were morning, afternoon, earlier evening, if people were wanting to catch those sessions after work. We don't look at this as, okay, we did that, we met the requirement, and now we're done. These are things that we needed to do anyways, and okay, the governor said we have to do it. I imagine we'll see how things go next week. I imagine we'll be scheduling more of those sessions, and they'll probably continue into September, because we're going to need to have a continuous dialogue with the community because things are going to change and evolve, and we're going to have answers to legitimate questions. So those are next week. Information about how to access that meeting will be pushed out in the next few days as well. We've had ongoing discussions with staff. The requirement the governor put out was that you have to have a session for all of your staff members. The reality is, to construct our plan, we've been meeting, we've probably had about at least 10 large-scale meetings with people from various parts of our operation to construct our plan. We scheduled, you had to have at least one of those sessions. To start, we've scheduled 2. Those are this Thursday. One's at 9 in the morning, one's at 1 in the afternoon. Staff members can go to one or both or none. It's just an opportunity to learn more about the plans depending on what their current comfort level is. Again, that's just probably one of many meetings that the reality is of what's going to happen in the coming weeks. The point is not to just meet a minimum standard that's imposed on us. The point is that we want to have whatever dialogue needs to happen and make people feel comfortable. Finally, we're also, and this was not a requirement, we just thought it made sense, that a lot of our students have questions. I've received some messages from students asking questions, and a lot of them are really good questions. So they can certainly participate in any of these parent community sessions. Anybody can. But we did want to earmark one of these sessions next Thursday at 3 p.m. That would be designed specifically for students to give them a chance to ask some questions that they have from their unique perspective as a student. So that is the sort of the next set of presentations that we have on the horizon. Just a couple of points, and we wanted to show you a video that we put together. You know that sometimes people don't want to just hear me droning on about something, so we wanted to mix it up a little bit. We wanted to be able to show you some things, show you the people who are doing a lot of the work that needs to be done to get our facility ready for students and staff to come back into it. And we knew that people wanted to see more about what are the cleaning protocols that we have in place. Now this is just one of several. There's going to be a series every few days. We're going to be releasing updated videos between now and the start of school. So we're going to show you the initial video tonight. We'll archive it on the website so people can go back and review it when they want to. But the final point I wanted to make in addressing the big picture and the types of questions we've been receiving is I can't emphasize enough that the top priority for the district is everything we do is going to be driven by what are the experts telling us in terms of safety and health. We're not going to cut any corners. We're not going to take any liberties that we shouldn't. And our goal is we should be able to say that, look anybody in the eye, and say that that's what we're doing. If anything, we're going to go overboard in meeting those standards. I say that because I think, I've had people say to me, well, that schedule is, or our version of an opening plan, was that just what's convenient for the staff? I can tell you there's nothing that's been convenient about the process that we've gone through. If this was about doing whatever is the easiest thing for us, we definitely wouldn't have done what we've done. The goal is to do things in a safe way. Some people have said, in looking at what they like about a particular plan, so-and-so, such and such district is doing this, why aren't we're doing it? And remember too, it's sort of, I'm not too proud to say that I can take another idea if we can make ourselves better. But our plan is driven by the fact that we have space limitations, we have staff limitations, and every district is in different circumstances. Take the case of our elementary grade program. We simply can't use social distancing recommendations that are in place and get that number of students in our facility in front of the teachers that are certified to teach them. That's the point that we'll keep coming back to. If we cut corners, if we said, you know what, we're going to station kids' desks closer, we're not going to use standards, that makes things easier. If we're not making sure that kids are spaced apart when they're eating, or that they're wearing masks when they're moving in the halls, we're not going to be the scene that you saw out of the schools in Georgia. We're not cutting any corners, and we will enforce the standards that make good sense. When we ask staff or students to come into the building, and we say these are the expectations, those are the expectations. We will work with families, for example, on the issue of masks. But unless there is a specific medical documentation, the expectation is people are wearing masks when they're in halls, when they're moving, and this will become very spelled out and clear to everybody as far as what the expectations are. Are there exceptions to that? Sure. Are there certain medical conditions that lead us to make different decisions? Yes. But that also causes other things to happen too. That means that it's even more essential that that distancing is practiced and so on and so forth. So I just want to make that point, can't reiterate it enough. Our plan is driven by safety, and can we support that decision that we made with facts and with the best evidence we can. Nobody has perfect information, but what we can say is we will use the best updated information that we have at the time. And that means using things from people that know a lot more about health matters and public health and infection and those sorts of things than any of us in this room do. It's people that do this all the time as their job. We will defer to the experts. So obviously more to come on this. We hope and encourage that people will take a look at our sessions next week. Hope that you continue to look at our frequently asked questions, and hopefully continue to check out the videos. If there are particular topics that you're especially interested in, we'll take suggestions and we'll try to put things together to answer your questions. But we thank everybody for your patience, and look forward to working with you to try to do the best job we can for our students. final thing I would say is we're not looking to make excuses. We're trying to still press forward and do the things that we need to do and just do it in a responsible way. So I think we're going to be able to show, we're ready to show the video.
Hello, Canastota. My name is Nick Panuccio, the Executive Director of Finance and Operations for the district. And as our superintendent has stated, we're going to be doing a series of videos based on our reopening plan. For the first one of our reopening plan, please look at this video that is based on our cleaning protocols.
Hi, my name is Nick Camp. I'm Director of Facilities here at Canastota School District, and these are our cleaning protocols for our facilities.
Here we have a cleaner disinfecting workspace. Each workspace will be cleaned thoroughly before a new student uses that workspace. Throughout the day, cleaners will be cleaning high contact points throughout the school, including doorknobs, light switches, and phones. Here we have the cleaner wiping off the teacher's desk. This will be done every night as well as throughout the day by the cleaning staff and the teachers themselves. This is the Clorox 360 machine. This machine sprays a disinfectant which has a positive charge, allowing it to connect to every negative charge throughout the room for thorough cleaning. Here we can see as the cleaner cleans around the urinals in the boys' bathroom using the 360 machine. You'll notice a light mist is sprayed from the machine. However, it is connecting to every area around the room. Here the cleaner cleans around the sinks and the walls around the sinks. Here we have a cleaner disinfecting the carpets, as well as one mopping with disinfectant throughout each room. Throughout the school, you will see signage reminding students, staff, and guests to wear a face mask when entering a room, as well as be sure to practice social distancing. There is also hand sanitizer units all throughout the school to ensure we can sanitize at any moment. Here we have a cleaner cleaning off a high traffic area, which in this case is our office. You will notice that in the office, there is also a sanitizer and cleaning wipes available for anybody who walks in.
After each bus run day, handrails, the seats, and all high contact places will be wiped down and sprayed down. We will also be using a BNC 15 product which sprays throughout the entire bus, and it disinfects everything within 5 minutes of contact. Once a week, we'll be using this Clorox 360 machine, which is a disinfectant also. It disinfects all germs immediately upon contact.
Additionally, each teacher will receive a cleaning kit in the classroom, equipped with a BNC cleaner, a towel, hand sanitizer, gloves, and a mask.
And that's the initial attempt. It just sort of, instead of just talking about all the time, I wanted to show you some things. So we'll continue to do that. For example, some of the future video updates will include how we're reminding students of social distancing. For example, we have markers we'll place in the hallway and those sorts of times to constantly remind them of where they are and what the requirements are. So a lot more to come on that. We're also going to have specific presentations on things related to academic schedules and routines and things like that. So there's just so much to the reopening process that we're just going to continue to try to update people and, you know, we'll archive it. It'll be there for people's reference, but we'll keep adding some new information and keep hopefully growing our understanding of what school's going to look like. So, thank you.
Any board questions for the superintendent based on that presentation? Thank you. Again, I don't know if you're any board questions on that. Thank you for all those that participated in that video. Continue to see that we continue to take strides to do that. All right, new business. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the 2020-21 tax levy amount of $12,685,000 for $420, and the tax collection date of September 1st, 2020 through October 1st, 2020, with no penalty, and October 2nd, 2020 through October 30th, 2020, with a 2% penalty. May I have a motion? Tracy. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the agreement with Little Luke's for the 2020-21 school year. Have a motion. Debbie.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the 2020-21 intermunicipal agreement with Madison and Niagara Policies. Tracy, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the increase of the appropriated fund balance for the 2020-21 school year. May I have a motion? Tracy? Wes. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Committee reports. Safety.
We haven't met.
Okay, academics, I know we canceled
Yes.
due to the all the parent meetings that we're going to have. Policy. I know we pushed you off for tonight. You pushed us off. Sorry. A lot going on in school. Facilities.
Facilities pushed policy on this evening. We met this evening with our construction associates, with the construction manager. Really, if this goes up, you know why? Wrong thing, you know, right? No?
There you
Yeah, now you can hear it. So anyway, we met this evening, 4:30 tonight. We met with our construction associates to see where we were at with our current capital project. It's been submitted to SED. We're hoping to see it back here in about 4 to 6 weeks. We're on schedule with that, so hopefully we'll be putting it up to bid by the end of the year and starting work at the first of the year. So it's some positive that we're getting feedback from the state. It does feel good to hear that. Our capital outlay project for 2021 has been approved, so we're going to go going on that here shortly. We should be receiving bill that's to start that as well. We have a data grant that we talked about that's all set, that we're going to be spending on some more technology. As we all know, technology is key now, and our recent experiences over the last 4 to 6 months, even more so. And we just talked a little bit more about the facility use and update, you know, with the current COVID regulations and requirements. You know, we've had to adjust what we allow the community to use our building for. It is the community's building, we all know that. So we had a discussion on that, and we're taking every step possible to make sure that the community can still our facility, you know, as we see fit. So we're planning on meeting again in, you know, another couple of weeks, get a better update on the SCD. Got it? Any questions on that? Where we stand with that now?
Anybody? Okay, thank you. Audit also met tonight, as you can imagine, with the flux in finances, some of the unknowns from the state. We also had a meeting tonight. During last week, there was a meeting to talk about all our title grants. There was a meeting to basically go through those. Those are basically federal funds that are allocated to the district based on some need. I will say that I'm happy with the way that we are allocating expenses and how we're doing that, but we're also seeing a phase out of federal money. If you look at the trends, we're seeing some of that money go away. The other thing that was also very well pointed out, you may hear a lot of things about CARES Act. We knew going into the budget that there was $405,000 that looked like it was going to be allocated from the federal governments to the school, to our school particularly. But at the same time, the state of New York has allocated to reverse that money into exactly the same amount of money. So basically, the state got the federal grants and money that sent it to us. So you can look at it however you want. One of the other motions that were on here was to increase our appropriated fund balance. And there's always been a question about, do we have surplus money left over from last year? And we did. We put it into this appropriated fund balance to basically be able to fund it. We're still anticipating at least a 20% cut or more based on state finances on what we may have. And it was supposed to be on foundation aid, but we're seeing that maybe some other things are still being cut. So it's going to be, this year we probably might be okay. Next year we may have some problems financially with where some of the money is. So we're taking steps to make sure we ensure that we're in good shape. Right now we're in good shape. We also know how much, sorry, I forgot the number, how much additional PPE costs that we had that was not really budgeted so far that we spent.
Right now, we're a little over 100,000, but I expect that to be over 500,000 by the end of the year.
So, I mean, so we're seeing the additional expenses, and we're going to spend that money. That's, you know, we need to make sure that everybody's safe. That's going to be masks and hand sanitizer and some of the things you saw in the cleaning.
Could I just mention that's an unfunded mandate as well?
It is an unfunded mandate. So, that is, again, we're in good shape here. Any other questions for me or audit or Nick on the audit side? All right. Thank you. Did I miss any? Board comment period. Anybody this evening? I guess I'll take one moment here. The COVID thing from the time that it started has separated communities, family members, on how their approach to this virus, whether they're cavalier about it one way or the other, whether it's serious enough in their family. What I'm hoping for is that we as a community do not. I'm hoping that as a community we can come together. We may not always agree on some of our policies or our schedules or what we're trying to do, but know that, you know, as far as the school district goes, we're following the rules. Our job as the board is to make sure that the superintendent follows all the rules in the state of New York, in the county, and things like that. So we're doing that. But, you know, we're all going to differ in the community about, you know, whether masks are required or your child should be wearing a mask in school, or should they be going at all. My opinion, I kind of take our governor's thing, my opinion is kids need to be with kids at the socialization, and that's my opinion. I would hope that we could have gotten there. Maybe my family would hope that, I could send my 9th grader every day. But that's not the reality. But we still need to give them an education. We need to go through with that. So I would, but I watch the social media. I watch people just bashing each other. But we need to stay as a community. We're not always going to agree on this, but somehow we need to make sure that we can work together. So I hope that we can do that. So that's my statement. Anybody else? Move to the superintendent's report.
Okay, a couple quicker things. Reopening has obviously taken a lot of our attention lately. But we also want to make the point that we still have to function at a high level outside of that. We're operating amidst a lot of chaos. People are having to, get used to different schedules and different challenges. But we don't want to lose sight of, our purpose of not only keeping kids safe, but educating them, providing them opportunities to learn in the best way possible. We are a district that has a district-wide improvement plan that was submitted to the state several weeks ago. We have a plan for Robert Street as well. That's something that we're not losing sight of. Our expectation is that we continue to execute elements of that plan. We want to share the details of that plan with you. We're waiting for feedback. We got some great feedback from the state with our most recently submitted plan for Robert Street. Waiting to get some more feedback on the district-wide plan. So that's going to be a subject of an upcoming presentation at a board meeting. And what we're going to continue to talk about is that we're not going to lose sight of the fact that some things are important no matter what else is going on. And we don't want to lose sight of what's important for what's urgent at the moment. We need to do both. The urgent issue we're dealing with is the safety issues, the scheduling changes, making people feel comfortable with the plan that we're putting out. But it's also important in the long-term interest of our students, the district, that we pay attention to what is our learning plan, what is our overall instructional plan, K through 12. And so we're still going to spend time talking about those things to make sure that we don't forget about what is important in the long term and not just focus on what is urgent today. Because at some point we will be able to move past this. And when we do, we want to make sure that our instructional programs and the opportunities that we have at Canastota for our kids are as good as they can possibly be. And so that will continue to be the goal, and that will be a subject of upcoming presentations. And the last thing I would mention is there was some good news in that we have the Engaged Canastota Community Fund has been launched. After several months of work on the part of a lot of community members. So we now have the ability for people who want to contribute to the fund for student opportunities that might lie outside of the general budget. And we know that there's a lot of uncertainty related to budget. It's a great thing to have to be able to support some innovative learning experiences for students. So if people are interested in learning more about that, it's now on over the next few months, people are going to start hearing about some of the specific projects that this group is going to try to support. It's not just about money. When people hear about a fund, they think, okay, you're just asking people for money. Of course, that's a nice thing. To have to be able to support students by raising additional funds. But it's also, this group is also really focused on bringing the community together around things that are going to just make it a better place to be, make it the best school, best community possible. And I think that's going to be an equally important benefit of the presence of this group. There will be a lot of opportunity for people to participate in the group. There are going to be multiple committees working under this Engage Canastota organization. So if people want to get involved with something that's positive, that's good for, helps our kids, helps our community, there will be a lot of opportunity for people to participate in that, and the specific details will be coming out to you in the next few weeks. So much more to come on that. So there's, in the midst of all the craziness, there's some good news for us.
Thank you. Anything else for the superintendent? Okay. And we just graduated Shane Bernard. Unfortunately, he perished in a car accident. If you didn't know Shane was a avid fisherman, and he'll be sorely missed in our community. And I apologize for that. I should have opened up with that today. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to personnel recommendations. All appointments are pending clearance on fingerprinting. Resignations and retirements. Resolved, on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept John Merritt's letter of resignation as a bus attendant effective July 30th, 2020. We have a motion. Warren. Tracy. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved, on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Kristen Lasnicki's letter of resignation as an elementary teacher effective August 31st, 2020. I have a motion. Kathleen. Tim. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Caitlin Huff's letter of resignation as a special education teacher effective August 31st, 2020. I have a motion. Lori, Tim. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Deborah Williams' letter of resignation as a teacher aide effective August 10th, 2020. I have a motion. Tracy? Kathleen. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Permanent appointments. Resolved that Sarah O'Day is hereby appointed as on a probationary basis as in a tenure area of elementary with the understanding that the named individual does hold New York State certification appropriate to or required for that position. The probationary appointment shall commence on September 1st, 2020. The probationary appointment shall expire on September 1st, 2023, and that the named individual to be eligible for that appointment on tenure upon expiration of the probationary period, it shall be necessary but not sufficient that the individual has received an annual professional performance review of either effective or highly effective in 3 of the 4 years of the probationary service, and has not received an annual professional performance rating of ineffective in the final year of the probationary appointment, as based on the rating derived in compliance with Educational Law Section 3012-G. May I have a motion? Debbie Lauren. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Congratulations. There is no substitute appointments. There is no coaching. Other. Anybody? This is our second and final public comment period. If anybody would like to address the board. I'll let you, if you can stand, I'll probably keep you there. Just state your name. If you just state your name and where you live.
Matt Settling, 39-360 Road. Question for the board, as far as the rules and regulations that you guys have to adhere to, are things like gym, music, and are requirements still even in this type of situation? Is the curriculum still essentially on you guys to meet all the normal processes?
So it's a comment period, but I think we can answer this. I would refer to our superintendent, so not specials.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's going to come out in the presentations next week when we dig into it further is it's going to look different at different levels. For example, at the elementary levels, much more of the special areas would be dealt with in the remote or virtual component of the program.
So, just to, so I understand, more of that will be essentially on parents to bring those types of activities to their education.
No, well, teachers would still be engaging the kids, but it would be,
Teachers won't be overseeing it.
they would still be overseeing it.
Okay, they won't be implementing it, if you're going to implement it.
Right, but at the elementary grade levels, the focus of the in-person time would be more on the core academics when they have the face-to-face time. Some of the specials, for example, in phys ed or from chorus or things like that, it presents some unique challenges because
It's not going to be utilized.
that's a good question, and we're looking at that now when we're looking at classes. Okay, if you remember, a lot of people, we had overwhelming response to the surveys that we put out. Probably the best response we've ever got as far as getting good feedback that would help us make decisions. So we're looking at class sizes. You know, the guidance offices, the main offices in each of the buildings are looking at how many kids would we have in each class. Then we were removing which families selected the fully remote learning. And then when we split those into two groups, how many kids are we actually having? So we're looking at, to address your question, cases where if we had potentially a larger class, could we use this room? Could we use the forum room in the high school, or a lunchroom, or the gym space, or the playroom gym? So we're looking at all of those areas to see how much space do we have, and does this allow us some more flexibility to do things?
It's not easy.
No, well, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to understand this completely. If you guys are having your hands tied by the state education department, that is more often than not. Some of your decisions would be better understood, I think, and that's just where I'm trying to understand. Grass, because I'll be honest with you, it's very frustrating to hear that my child is going to home to a school 2 days out of the week, and that I'm going to have to try to figure out how to educate her remotely when we are both working parents. After 8 hours a day, or 10 or 12, or some instances 18, coming home and trying to educate your child is getting impossible.
I'm going to agree with you. My personal opinion. Anybody else? Just gonna have you stand, state your name and where you live.
It's Canastota, I'm Rich. In regards to this question about utilizing the classrooms that aren't going to be used for the elementary, are we still having teacher aides in all the classrooms if we're only half the students? And can those teacher aides assist in educating more children?
We're looking at every staff member that we have, what's the best way to utilize them. So there have been conversations about, okay, with this changed environment, is there a better use? Are there ways? For example, we know that we're gonna have to have some people that are dedicated to that remote end. We know that parents are gonna need assistance, kids are gonna need assistance. So it's a good question, but I think the answer is still evolving because we're looking at, okay, how many kids do we have in this class? How many kids do we have in this class? Some may be larger than others. Everything isn't working out perfectly in the certain grade levels. For example, you might have more people choosing remote learning than others. So right now we're looking at, let's add everything up, let's see where we are, and then let's make some of those decisions. But I agree with you, your point is well taken, that we need to use people in the best way that we can, and it might mean doing things differently than we've done. So we do understand that, and we're asking those questions.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. All right, so as we talked about, future dates. Parent informational meetings, Monday, August 17th at 9 a.m. Thursday, the 20th at 1 and 6. Staff is also having informational on the 13th.
I think it was 5:30.
Was it 5:30?
It was, the 20th was, the second, the late one was 5:30, I believe.
Okay, 5:30. Staff is on the 13th at 9 and 1. And students are on August 20th. It's also Thursday at 3 o'clock. With that, I need a motion to go into executive session to talk in reference to employee contract issues. Tracy, Tim? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We are now in executive session. We will from that meeting. Thank you for coming.
Stop the stream.
No, that was, I did, but that's not my issue. I have it upstairs. I'm sure it's a user issue, Chris. No doubt. There's no doubt. So I'm in here, and there's an attachment, it says more, and no matter what I do, I can't go more to work, so what am I doing wrong? And I try to scroll. This is a heavy speaker. It's a big one.
So that was for which one? Always?
Yeah, it's the only one. It's only one that has this much content that I can't see. Whenever it has the more, I can't get. How did you do that? Just by shrinking it? I'm sure. So what do I need to do?
Well, I shrank it so you can do like control.
You're welcome.
Class or control.
Yeah. And then just see if it'll work. Okay. I don't know why.
Send you the bill.
Let me scroll down on that. When I
That's my guess. Is it might be related to that. And I refreshed it. So it didn't pull it up.
So weird. Okay. Okay. That's fine as long as I know how to do it because I can't have it only on the one that's not enough content to push it down.
Forces it to the more.
Yeah, and I cannot have her figure out how to get to it. Like, why doesn't this
You can, if that happens again,
I just
you
locked out.
can,
No,
when
even
you're in
on
the
the
photo
agenda
agenda,
one.
you can't click the
Nope.
paperclip or whatever it
The
is.
little thing doesn't work. That doesn't do anything. Well, that's fine as long as I can. I figured you could show me what I was doing wrong, but I'm like, I don't know what else to try to do.
Sure.
doing good.
Good.
Oh,
Thank you.
I like these 14-hour days.
Well, it'll be on our YouTube channel, so you can play it back and see where it made enough difference. So then to end